Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to That's Football. We've got lots for you this morning. David Raya to Arsenal in a huge deal, which I think will divide Arsenal fans again. Also, could Neymar be going to Chelsea? There are strong rumours that could be realistic, or will it be Saudi Arabia? Also, we've got a massive story itself that Paqueta of West Ham could be heading to Manchester City. What's that all about? Never write off Man City and Pep. People think that they are weaker. He'll just go and do those deals in the final few weeks of the transfer window. Of course he will. Lots to get into, plus an update on Harry Kane if you're interested in that, and a few other bits as well. But can I just say a massive shout out to everyone who listened to the podcast yesterday. Episode 1 of Goldbridge Saves Football. We got a lot of you involved through the community tab, which we're going to keep doing for every week's show. So keep an eye on the community tab, because when we're putting questions up there, we're using that as the place to make it the podcast. We want it to be an independent, interactive podcast. And if you've not listened to it yet, check out the links in the description. Please give it a like and a comment, but give it a listen. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's the first proper podcast I've ever done. It's completely independent, and you know what? We're trying to take football into areas that it needs to go, where it's not all corporate production and scripted nonsense that you get in the mainstream. We're looking to make a voice for you. So make sure you give it a listen. Thanks to everyone who already has. It's a big step forward, and your support is really, 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 really important and appreciated. So give it a listen. Links are in the description. Right, big story. David Raya to Arsenal for around £30 million. Now, I feel like I've sort of led this story in a way that I haven't, because when this sort of broke, I said this is huge. This is Mikel Arteta basically saying, I want a ball-playing goalkeeper like Manchester City, like Manchester United, like Liverpool. I want that elite ball-playing goalkeeper. Not that Ramsdale couldn't do it, not that David De Gea couldn't do it a bit, you know, or Joe Hart, or whoever else that's been replaced by these managers. This was a big statement. To go and spend £30 million is a significant chunk of money to go and spend on a goalkeeper when you've got a goalkeeper like Aaron Ramsdale. I've had my piece on this. I think Ramsdale should be England's number one. I think he's a good goalkeeper, but is he good enough to be Arsenal's number one if they're going to challenge Manchester City? And I think there's a question mark about that. He makes mistakes. If you analyse last season, you could be a little bit critical and say there were periods in the season where maybe Ramsdale could have done a little bit better, what difference that would have made. But ultimately, I think, and I stand by what I've said before, is Aaron Ramsdale up there with the likes of Onana and Ederson and Alisson in relation to ball distribution and ball at his feet? And I think he's decent, but I don't think he's at that level. And I think David Raya is. And I also think you don't spend... I've had Arsenal fans saying we're only going to spend 15 million on him. He's just a reserve goalkeeper. You don't spend £30 million or 20 plus 10 or whatever it is. You don't spend that amount of money on a reserve goalkeeper. Nobody does that. I mean, and the clubs that do it, it ends up being a mistake. So I think that this is an open race for number one. I suspect, and I'm pretty confident that Ramsdale will start the season and it will be his shirt to lose. I think he's deserved that right, and you've got to respect that. It would be ridiculously harsh if Arteta just got rid of him. There are similarities with what Ten Hag did with David De Gea, but obviously David De Gea has been removed from Man United, so it's Onana's shirt. This is not a removal of Ramsdale. He should be respected, he will be respected, and he will have the number one shirt. But he's in a horrible position now where, you know, concentration and focus will shift a little bit to the bench and what's there. A new signing who wants his shirt. And I think by the end of the season, maybe even by Christmas, but I'm saying it right here, by the end of the season, Arsenal's number one will be Raya, because I think he will prove himself to be better. He's going to have to make mistakes. He's going to have to get used to the enormity of playing for Arsenal, but I think by the end of the season he'll be Arsenal's number one. Let us know what you think about that. That deal has happened. Arsenal fans weren't too sure about it. Let's talk about this Neymar deal very, very quickly. There are rumours, and look, I've always had reasonably good sources around Chelsea. There are rumours around Chelsea that they are in discussion for Neymar. Now, discussion and completion are two separate things. I think that, of course, Chelsea would want Neymar. Of course, Todd Boehly can get Neymar. I don't think that's a problem. I would love to see Neymar in the Premier League. I don't know whether he'd suit Manchester United in relation to what we need at the moment, but for Chelsea, London, not in Europe, could be a problem. But of course, I'd love to see Neymar playing in the Premier League. I think there's a risk to it, but he's one of the best players in the world. And I think that would be great for the league. And obviously, it'd be a huge deal for Chelsea. I think the problem Chelsea have got here is the motivations of Neymar. Is it monetary? Is he motivated to play in the Premier League? If it's monetary, he could just go to Saudi Arabia. So you'd have to say if he goes to Chelsea, there's got to be some football motivation to come and play in the Premier League. The problem with Chelsea is that they don't have any European football. And many would say, well, he won't have any European football in Saudi Arabia either. Look, if he goes to Saudi Arabia, that is money exhibition football. Whether it's Jordan Henderson, Cristiano Ronaldo, Benzema, that league is an exhibition league. They're there to play football, but they're there to earn money. That's what they're there to do. Footballers in most European leagues, they're there to make money, but they're also there to compete in competitive tournaments like the Champions League and the Premier League and La Liga. So what will Neymar decide? Can Chelsea pull it off? Keep an eye on it. I still think he'll go to Saudi Arabia, but apparently Chelsea are in talks. So let's see what happens with that. Another big deal is Paqueta to Manchester City. This, to me, I mean, look, Pep Guardiola doesn't need any confirmation or, doesn't need me saying what a great manager is. We already know it. But these are the sort of signings that Pep Guardiola makes that I just am fascinated about. I thought when he spent £100 million on Grealish, I was like, how's that going to work? You look at the Kovacic deal, who's a player I really liked at Chelsea, and you go, well, he could have gone and got somebody more high profile than Kovacic, but he goes and gets a player that I think, is fantastic. And I think with Paqueta as well, if he goes and gets him, it's a player that he sees, well, he plays for West Ham, but I reckon he could be a top player at Manchester City. So it's a concerning signing because I don't think many clubs were looking at Paqueta in that sort of way, and then Man City and Pep are. So what does that mean? Does he come in as a replacement for? Well, they've lost Gundogan, obviously they've lost Mahrez, or is it? Could it see an exit of Bernardo Silva? I don't know, but I certainly think it's a really interesting signing from Manchester City if they can do it. And I certainly think it's probably a deal that West Ham would look to do, if we're being honest. So let's keep an eye on that one for sure. And can I just say as well, this afternoon I'm going to be live at 4 o'clock on this channel doing my Fantasy Premier League. I'll be revealing That's Football Fantasy Premier League code if you want to play against us, but you'll be helping me pick my team as well. I used to take Fantasy Premier League very seriously. About 10 years ago, I finished in the top 300. I was in a job I didn't like, and I just used to spend most day, focusing on my team. Then I got busy, and I've sort of neglected it, but I'm going to get back into it, and you're going to help me. You're going to be my assistant coaches, so we're going to do it at 4 o'clock live. It'll probably take about an hour to do it. Make sure you tune in. So smash a like on the video, of course, but make sure you subscribe bottom right-hand corner and get your bell on for the notifications, because we will be live at 4 o'clock for that. The final story, and I think I already have, but I'm going to label it the most boring transfer ever. It's certainly the most boring transfer of this transfer window. And I don't really know why, because when one of the world's best strikers is going to go or potentially play for Bayern Munich, one of the world's biggest teams, it normally is a big deal. But I don't know. I posed the question to the comments, why is the Harry Kane transfer so boring? He's one of the best strikers in the world. Bayern Munich's a huge club. It's going to be for a lot of money. He's playing at a sort of Roy the Rovers job at Spurs, where he's scoring 20. How he scored 28 Premier League goals in that team, I don't know. But I was thinking about this. Even if Harry Kane was going to Chelsea or Manchester United, it would be a little bit more interesting, because obviously it's a Premier League move from one club to a rival. But even then, I wouldn't be that. This is something about Harry Kane, and this. Maybe there's something about Harry Kane that's just a little bit boring. I don't know what it is, and he's a great striker. I mean, I think he's world class, but I just find that I don't even think it's how long this deal has been going on for. I just think it's just I think there's something about Harry Kane that's a little bit boring. And I don't know why. And I think even if he was signing for United, I don't think it would be as exciting as when Højlund signed or Onana signed. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm reading the room on there. But I just find this deal really boring. And now we're hearing that he might stay at Spurs, which would make it even more boring because he didn't do anything. Look. I think if you're Harry Kane, you've got to go to Bayern Munich and try and win some things, haven't you? But look, whether it's going to happen or not, are we massively interested? I'm not really bothered either way. I'm really not. Anyway, Make sure you give a listen to the podcast. Get your comments in below about Neymar to Chelsea, Raya to Arsenal. Oh, where are you on that? Is it going to be Ramsdale's spot taken eventually, or do you think a 30 million goalkeeper is just going to sit on the bench? And why would you do that? Also, Paqueta to Manchester City. What's that all about? Is it another Pep masterstroke, or is it a Pep mistake? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget, we're back at live at 4 o'clock for the Fantasy Premier League launch. I'm looking forward to that. And also the podcast. Give it a listen if you haven't. Really, I listened to it driving back from Manchester yesterday, and even though I'm on half of it, I really did enjoy it, and I can't wait to get the next one out next week. So please do give it a listen, and if you have given it a listen, go back on the links and just give us a 5 stars or whatever, or give us a comment. Really appreciate that. And don't forget, you can listen to it now for free. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you all in a bit.